things I've been considering. So one of the things is this concept of that big life-changing moments happen to us randomly. Like, we don't see them coming. They kind of hit us like a bus out of nowhere. We're like, oh my god, and your mind is blown. You're just like, how in the world did I not see this before? And it becomes this life-changing moment, or just a split second, and you discover something entirely new, and it entirely aligns how you think about things. And I don't know, it kind of feels like there is something to say about letting go and about allowing, as my word is for the year, these things into your life and allow them to happen when they happen, as in waiting for things to happen feels too much like fate, like the idea that there is a grand plan out there, which I do not believe there is. And so for that, there's something where the will of a person really drives what happens in their lives. I think that is a huge point. I think if you don't have the will to go after what you want, to make things happen, it's not going to happen. Sorry, the universe isn't going to unveil itself for you entirely. That's not aligning well with my belief scape. So I kind of want to kickstart these moments. I want to kickstart the idea of finding something that could shock me, that could unveil something in me that I never saw before, a mind-blowing situation, and how to do that really. How do you do that? And I've been thinking about leaning into negativity, and specifically negativity or thoughts or ideas or viewpoints that we have a negative connotation with. And not necessarily unearthing your entire belief process in a way, but really seeking out things that you disagree with. And for a minute, taking it on as a true fact, holding it as something that is opinion you actually hold, and seeing how you feel about that. I've been doing this a lot with politics recently, and I'm really starting to apply it to my spirituality. And I'm noticing that when I seek out people where I'm like, I don't think I'm going to agree with you, or I don't believe in this, or that seems so off base, trying to seek out that type of negativity, or where something I have a negative reaction to, and really I'm finding that's kickstarting even if it's not necessarily things where I suddenly totally have changed my viewpoint, and I totally think how this person thinks now, as opposed to where I used to be all the way over here with my thought process. It's not so much that as it is having me look at my thought process and even the things I believe in a whole new light, to make me either redescribe them better or really explore a different avenue of something that fits quite nicely within the belief set that I hold. Which is not something I was expecting. I was kind of hoping for the big revelations, but it actually is a little more pieces when I'm doing this. A lot of times I will click on YouTubers where I'm like, why do I feel like I'm not going to like what you're going to say here? Or they are talking about a topic even that I had no interest in whatsoever, but I will click it because it's a 7-minute video and I can listen to 7 minutes about a topic I may or may not like, but I just didn't have much interest in. So I'll click on something all about, I don't know, hiking. Like, yeah, hiking's okay, but quite honestly, it's not my favorite task to do. But all about the different places to hike, stuff to hike, things to do, and, suddenly it's like, oh, well, that reminds me, I need to get out in nature more, and celebrate. Right now I live in the desert, so celebrate the idea that the sun isn't burning us all alive at this current moment, and connecting it right in that way. I've been spending too much time indoors, and even clicking on the hiking video, even though I really don't like the actual hiking of up a mountain type of deal. So it reminds me to get out there and do these type of things. And searching out the negatives, searching out these things I don't normally click on, searching out thought processes and perspectives that I don't really agree with, has really helped me grow and really helped me most of the time just trigger things quicker than if I was just kind of like waiting there for things to kind of happen and fall into my lap. And I don't really know how else to go about this, because there's so many times where it's funny. I was recently doing this with my health specifically, because if you look into any of the health information out there, every single person has a different opinion, and there's all this science that's contradicting of each other and all these different studies, and you could go down rabbit holes for days about what is actually healthy for you to be doing with your body. Should you be doing a paleo diet, vegan diet, this diet, whatever? I don't know. How much activity is healthy? Should you be running more if you want to lose weight, or do you want to lift more weights? Or like, what is it? Where is it in between? You have to kind of find what's right for you. But by me searching out things, it's funny how quickly I then suddenly realign with what I really want. It's like when someone asks you what you want for lunch and they mention the one type of food you cannot stand, and you're like, no, what I really wanted was this. But it took them saying the thing you really didn't want for you to remember that actually, no, I want this thing over here instead, which I think is hilarious. That sometimes you need that negativity. You need that no to remind you what you really do want. What is the thing you actually want to go after, to fight for, to envelop in your life? And so that's something I'm really doing a lot more of now. I'm embracing the negative. I'm embracing the ideas of, I'm like, no, I cannot stand that, and it makes me go, okay, well, if I want to be as far away from that as possible after exploring a bit and unearthing parts, then I can go over here and do what I actually want to do and focus on whatever I really want to focus on. And I think it also just helps in general to take on something that you don't necessarily agree with for a second as your truth, to see where the people are really coming from. There was a very interesting discussion between my mother, my father, and me, because my father doesn't really like discussing spirituality all that much. Me and my mother are like junkies with it. And he came up with the whole idea basically of pantheism. And while it kind of aligns with some of my stuff and kind of aligns with a little bit of my mother's stuff, a lot of it also just, like, my mother was disagreeing with a lot of what he was saying, was very interesting for me to take a step back for a second. And even though I know most with what my mother says is what I really align with, I was trying to align with myself and take on with everything my father was kind of just putting out there to see, because he's not entirely sure about what he believes, and take on everything he said as fact and see it like, okay, that's the fact of the matter. What do you need to work on? What do you need to explore more? If there is no other possibility, if it's a for surezies thing that you die and turn into nothing, that there's nothing else out here, what is that change for you? Is that a good idea sometimes to take on, even though, because it's like, oh my god, I hate that, like, that it doesn't ring true for me in the slightest, but what does that tell about me? What is that negative feeling when I think of that thought bring up for me? It shows me that until very recently, I have not been living my full life. I have been kind of playing with life as if I for sure have a second one to go live. And while I definitely believe in reincarnation and that something else happens with whatever it is inside me that goes on, I was using that too much of a, well, I've got another one of these. I have another thing, like I have a backup in my back pocket. I don't have to necessarily get it all done in this lifetime. And even though I think there's aid to that idea of knowing you have time to do things, calm down, there's also sometimes where you get too settled, too stagnant, and holding on to that idea that I do not agree with suddenly reminded me, yeah, that's why you're kickstarting your life this year. That's why you refound your spirituality. That's why I started this YouTube channel. That's why I did all these things, is because just in case that's true, I don't want to be that person who is looking at my life going like, fuck, I wasted it all. So there's something really great about embracing that negative and taking on ideas for even a second of what you don't know. And I'm doing this with so many different aspects. I'm trying to play with it as much as I can. And there's also this idea where I find I have much less of a negative recoil to ideas I don't necessarily agree with when I'm seeking them out. The whole idea of some negative thing or something you wouldn't have even thought of, kind of like blindsiding you and having you have this big epiphany about things, can be great if the epiphany immediately leads you to a good thought. But how do our brains really work with that? I don't know about y'all, but for me, I definitely sit there with stuff for a second and go, no, that's ridiculous. Like, I will shrug something off so fast, and it will take months for me to come back around to a thought and go, maybe they were right about that. Maybe there's some truth to what they were saying. Maybe that's something I actually want to take on in my own life. When I seek out information, though, I don't have that negative recoil as fast, because I'm expecting the negativity. I'm almost expecting my negative reaction, so it's lessened in that instinct. I don't recoil from something and shrug it off and shove it to the side so quickly. Instead, I actually take time with it and go, okay, you knew you weren't going to like it. You knew it was going to be a bit weird. It wasn't going to feel right. It was going to be an uncomfortable concept for you to take on. But take that on. Sit with that ick feeling for a minute and feel. Is it mentioning something you want to bring up in your life? Is it mentioning something where even if you don't hold this as your forever truth, does it help you address a specific instance that you need to work on or push past spiritually or in the 3D realm or wherever else? I'm quicker to the improvement part past the initial negativity when I'm seeking it out, as opposed to when I get blindsided. There have been ideas and concepts that have been hit me, and then I will not come back to it and actually look at it with some critical thought to see if I actually like it or not for years sometimes, if it has blindsided me. I don't like being blindsided. I don't like the surprises. I like surprises if they're good, but negative surprises, still, it's so disorienting, and you have to sit there with like, oh my god, what does this mean? And so many people's reactions when their ideas are confronted, when their belief structure is confronted, become, you fight because you're like, no, this is my identity. No, this is how I am as a person. I will not take this negativity. I will not take the idea that I am wrong. It's like a survival mode. It's an instinct. They've done some studies on this. And instead seeking it out, almost playing with that danger, going, is almost like tricking my body into going, yeah, this is okay. And it's really helping me to be more open-minded, empathize better with other people, and also just go throughout stuff and realize, hey, there is so much value out there in things that you don't necessarily want a part of your life in their full aspect, but they're making you look at your life in a really great way. So that's just something. Is there something negativity for y'all that you're just like, oh my god, I hated that thing, and now that I've come back around it, I'm like, oh fuck, they were right. Because there's so many stuff with that I do all the time. And I would encourage you guys too to click on YouTubers, or click on articles, or click on things where you're just like, no, that sounds ridiculous. Like, no, that's, you're like, you're so far away from that, you don't even want to go near it. Because at minimum, especially with like politics and spirituality and framework of this mindset, at minimum, it is good to know where that other person's coming from. So you can either combat it, or at least try to empathize so you can communicate with other people better. And honestly, the more I do it, the more it's just helped me in my own personal life. I do a lot of things from a lot of very selfish standpoint, but the more I look at it, the more I see the selfishness helping me, and then I in turn help other people. So the selfishness becomes a selfless thing. So anyway, I make new videos every Wednesday and Friday, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.